Start recording. Naftali, do you have where we left off? Yeah.
I do. We're on pay tests, first side.
Amar Abaya,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so yeah, so we're going to start on 89A. It's really a new piece, but it has some connections to what we were learning before. Starts with Amar Abaya. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, it's 9 lines. There's 2 Amar Abayas. We're doing the second one. Amar Abaya Tevasana from the top, like 9 lines down from the top. If we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day, in the schools of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. And we're learning in memory of Zahava Golda Bas Baruch Binyamin and Refuah Shlema for my father. Okay, the Gemara says like this: Amar Abaya Tevasana. We were talking about the speculative futures of what would be the value of a woman that sells her ksuba. Now she sells her ksuba.
There's really a lot of people. Everybody loves him. They come to shul on Shabbos. Just doesn't live.
Morning, guys.
It's a little drive. Probably half an hour.
We're talking about Tevasana, which is a speculative future of the ksuba. Talking about a bias statement.
What page are you?
Pay test. That if I'm sorry, you're ahead. If a woman sells a ksuba, that would mean that if she would get divorced or widowed, she would end up with money. So that money would be given to this purchaser. Otherwise, if she dies first, then the purchaser gets nothing. So that's a tevasana. So what value does that have? So Abaya says tevasana hail vasaliyadan. Since we've started to talk about tevasana, we were talking about it yesterday. So name of Babel. So let me talk about it. When a woman sells that money, who keeps that money? When a woman sells her ksuba, who keeps that money? So the Gemara says, Abaya says, that money goes to the woman. Because if we would say that it went to the husband, so we have to go back and discuss something we said yesterday. Let's say witnesses testified that a woman was not only divorced, but her ksuba has been paid also. So we said that
the husband returns the ksuba after divorce.
Right, the money of the ksuba goes to the woman. So what we said over there by these witnesses that turned out to be conspiring witnesses, they turned out to be Eidim Zayman. Oh, thank you. We said that because they didn't actually make her lose her ksuba. They didn't actually. Because she wasn't even divorced.
Her husband died.
Her husband didn't die either. She's still married. These witnesses that came in, that was our case.
Oh.
So what they have to pay is just the tevasana, what she could have gotten had she sold the ksuba. They have to pay the value of the ksuba. So now who does that go to? So that payment, we said, goes to the woman.
The value of
the gambling price. That's the.
What's the context of this? I it's like they're estranged.
No, the case was where witnesses said that this woman is divorced.
Okay.
And the husband paid the ksuba. Turned out she wasn't divorced at all.
Got it.
So what we said was
just rumors.
It was nothing. Eidim Zayman. So Eidim Zayman, people said that how do you know about this? You were with us.
What's the punishment of
So Eidim Zayman, they have to do to them what they wanted to do.
So
they wanted her to be divorced and they wanted her to lose the ksuba. The only thing is that she wasn't actually divorced.
Right.
So
but the amount of the ksuba is what the 8 have to shell out.
No, because Because not necessarily would she ever lose the ksuba, because the ksuba is only coming to her if she would be divorced, or if the husband would die.
But that's what
But if she would die first, then there would be no ksuba. So we can't have the Adam say you were going to lose a ksuba that's definitely coming to you. You would lose a ksuba that's not definitely coming to you. So now there's only a speculative value to this ksuba. There's a speculative, it's a future, right? Will it happen? Will it not? It's a gamble. So that price is called tevasana. So the Adam have to pay the tevasana. Okay, that's what we said before. Now we're saying that the two witnesses, I probably do, right? Adam Zayman, Naftali. When Adam Zayman pay, they each pay what they want to know. Both of them pay together what they wanted to cause. They split that amount. Let's say it was
They split that amount, but if one can't pay his share, the other has to pay the rest.
okay.
You would call it joint and several liability.
Yeah, they split it, but if one can't pay, then the other one has to make it up. Malchus each get their own Malchus. Yeah.
And if it's capital punishment also.
They each get their own capital punishment. Kill half of each. So Abaye is now saying that we have to say that it goes to the wife, not when this type of sana. If a woman sells her ksuba, that future, speculative future, we say that goes to the wife, not to the husband. Because if we would say that it went to the husband, so Leimula Adam, the Adam Zayman would say, my afsadina, why are you telling me I have to pay you for the ksuba that I made you lose? You don't get the money anyway. The money goes to your husband. You know, sometimes income that comes to the wife goes to the husband. If we would say that this is the type of income that went to the husband, then those Adam Zayman wouldn't have to pay b'chal. If you would have sold it for the tevasana, the husband would have gotten the money anyway. So why are you saying that we caused you a loss? You wouldn't have gotten the money anyway. Amar Rav Shalman. Rav Shalman says that's not a teretz. That's not a it's not a proof. The reason is why it's not a proof, because mishum de'ikar ravach besa. Because the woman could say, I don't care if my husband gets that extra money. I would still benefit from that. I would benefit because there's extra money around the household. I'd be able to spend more on the credit card. I'd be able to do other things. It'd be, I'd be able to shop better. We're talking about Adam Zayman claiming that. Why are you claiming that you need that money? You don't get it anyway. So she says, yeah, I do get it, because when there's money in the house, I end up spending. I could spend more. I get better, better breakfast. Okay, Amar Rava. Rava says, Hilchasa Tevasana Leisha Beina Balechel Peres. Rava says that the Tevasana goes to a woman and the husband. You see, sometimes when we have to buy something, we have to pay up something like this. We would say that buy property, and the husband will eat the Peres of that property. That way, the woman owns it, and the husband can still get the benefit. We say no. We give it straight to the woman. This is money that goes straight to the woman's account. We don't buy property and have the husband eating the Peres. My time. What's the reason for this? Peira Takina Le Rabbanan. The Rabbanan instituted that the husband should be allowed to eat the fruits of his wife's property, right? But not things that come from outside. We call this Peira de Peira, fruits of fruits. Now, an example of that is if someone stole the wife's nechse maluk. Someone stole, she had a sheep. No, not that iron sheep, is something else. She had some animal, someone stole it, then we catch the thief, he has to pay now double or whatever. So that money, that double money, doesn't go to the husband. You see, the husband's supposed to have the fruits, but he doesn't get the fruits of the fruits. He doesn't get money that's coming from the outside. He just gets the fruits that are in the inside. He could eat, drink the milk, he could shear the wool, he'd get those types of fruits, but not the pear, not the fruits of the, basically, this way. Tosfos explains anything that's coming from the outside doesn't go to the husband, it goes to her. So here, the type of sana, the ksubas, which is money coming from the outside, outside source, so that goes straight to the woman. It doesn't go to the husband.
Is this the reason that a woman keeps her own for herself for an inheritance.
She keeps her own.
If she gets an inheritance,
Yeah,
that it stays with her, it doesn't become her husband's.
that may be the binyan dichrin.
Uh-huh, okay.
But an inheritance that she gets could be nichse malug, and the husband would eat the payros maybe. If she inherits an apartment, could be the husband has the rights to the rent. Yeah, that's
Okay,
or whatever,
thank you.
or to use it or whatever.
If she already inherited it before the marriage, like all that is put in the ksuba.
If she inherited before the marriage, then there's two options. If it's put in the ksuba, then it becomes binyan dichrin. Otherwise, it's just nichse malug. It depends how it's put in the ksuba, right? Not did I say binyan dichrin? That's something else. It could be tzayin barzel. I'm sorry, I used the wrong term. It could be tzayin barzel, which means that the husband gets all the profits of it, but also all the losses. Yeah, that's a little worse. That's the iron sheet. That's the iron sheet. Okay. Gasser Rav Papa Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua mi Bei Rav. Oh, wow. Rav Papa and Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua come from yeshiva. Make a note of that. This is a proof that Bei Rav does not mean the yeshiva of Rav. Bei Rav just means yeshiva. Yeah, I think we had other proofs for this. You would think the house of Rav doesn't have to mean Rav, doesn't have to mean the person Rav. Yeah. Oh, well. 1 second. Okay. Yitzi came. Yitzi's in. See the apple? Okay. So the Amri, they said like this. Tanino letakanassusha. We actually have a Mishnah. Tanino is usually a Mishnah that supports this concept of the Takanasusha. Why? This is how we got into this, because this is really our Mishnah. It says, Eved Vayisha, this is going to take us onto the next page. Eved Vayisha Pigyasan Ra. Contact with a slave or with a woman is all negative. Why? Because anyone that damages in the slave or a woman, they have to pay. But if they damage others, they're exempt. Now, what's the reason why they're exempt? Because they have no money. Now, but if it would enter your mind that we ignore the takanasusha, there's no such thing as takanasusha, then a woman is allowed to sell her property that she owns, and the husband has no right to take it back. If that's the case, then the woman does have access to money. Why do we say that she doesn't have to pay for damages? Of course she should pay for damages. She should sell whatever property she brought into the marriage. And then she should pay for it. The Gemara says all the time, according to you, even if there is takanasusha, and she can't really sell it because the husband could take it back, right? But 1 second. I know the husband can take it back after she dies, right? Takanasusha was a woman that sells her property and then she dies, the husband can take it back. But maybe the husband's going to die first. Now, if that's the case, so there's a speculative price on this property that maybe the guy will be able to keep it if the husband dies first. So we can say, let's say a property of $5,000, at least it's going to go for $100.
Does everybody accept that?
Later on, I'm going to see this machlek. But right over here, we're saying that we have a support that there has to be a takanasusha. If there's no takanasusha, then why are you saying women don't have money? They could sell their property, they'll have money, they'll be able to pay for their damages. So we're saying
everybody has this.
So 1 second. So we're saying, so even if you do accept, you think that's a proof that there has to be a takanasusha to prove that women don't have money. Even with the takanasusha, women can still have money. Why? Because even though the husband, takanasusha means the husband can take the sold property back, but But so what? They can still sell it for a speculative price, a speculative future, and that money you should pay with it. Ella Delesla, it must be that we're talking about a woman that doesn't have that. Achinami Delesla. So we're also talking about a woman that doesn't have. So maybe she doesn't have any nechsim malug. No nechsim malug. So she can't sell it. So there's no proof from that Mishnah that she's automatically we have to say that women don't have any access to money. Could be this woman doesn't have access to money, and that's why you don't have to. This woman doesn't have to pay. If she had money, then maybe she does. The Tasman Ksub.
Learn that a woman can she does have like she like work with her hands. Does that go to her husband? Profits from
Usually her income goes to her husband, and the husband supports her with food and all of that. But there is a type of arrangement where she could get out of that. She could keep her own.
Yeah, I think in Nindoran she says like
I don't need your income. I'll just keep my own.
If a woman doesn't have right, and she caused damage, could the wisdom like force her to like sell like the futures of her super?
Oh, so that's the Gemara right here. Hillel and the Gemara have the next question. Why doesn't the best enforce her to sell the future of her ksuba? Right? There's that gamble price on the ksuba. Maybe she'll end up with the ksuba. Someone may want to buy it just in case, So, and then she should have to pay. So she should sell her ksuba. Mani Reb Meir, the Gemara says no. We're following the opinion of Reb Meir, the Amar, that he says, person's not allowed to be with his wife even 1 hour without a ksuba. Time amai, what's the reason for this? Kadesh take kala bain of leitzia. We don't want divorce to be easy. What we do is we put a high price on divorce. When the person shows up in court and says, I want to divorce my wife, they say, okay, do you have $20,000? And he says, well, is that what it's going to cost? So let me go check, and then meanwhile they'll get back together. And
Are they saying that they'll get is what I mean? What's actually holding the marriage together? Like
yeah,
sure.
That's what they get is cheaper to keep her. Cheaper to keep her.
Cheaper to keep her. Ooh, good line. Cheaper to keep her.
They made up a line over here. Cheaper to keep her. And these big companies, these big guys that get divorced, these like Amazon and Microsoft and all of that, half the things. That's it, right? Half their social. What's the?
And by the way, they tell you it's still worth.
It's still worth it to get divorced.
So the person that buys the future for the super, they actually take the physical because the Rebbe Meir says
No, what do you mean? No.
That is delicious.
Whether there's a document that attests to the fact that the money is owed, or whether there is no document, we know that there's money that's owed. There's different customs. We have documents, but the idea over here is that if that debt is not in place, so then the person's not allowed to be married, not allowed to stay with his wife. You always have to have that debt in place. Now, we write a document. So that's what it's referring to. I don't know if it's referring to specifically the document or the actual debt. Over here, he's getting rid of both. If she sells the ksuba,
it's the future, so it's not like done.
Oh, so 1 second. So now we said that selling the ksuba, she's not going to have a ksuba. She sells the ksuba. So then he's going to be able to divorce her. The Gemara says no. But here he's not going to divorce her. What's the difference if he has to give the money to her, if he has to give it to the other guy? Either way, that's a big debt that he doesn't want to pay. So the ksuba, whether it's coming to her or not, is still holding that marriage together, according to Reb Meir. So if you look at the logic of this, what Reb Meir is saying, that this logic still applies. Okay. Ella, so we said, Ella tevasina mili ninu, mili loy mishtabdi. You see, well, you have to look at it like this. It's a very interesting thought. The Gemara is saying now, if someone has a debt, so we look at his property and we see the property that he owns, we assess it. We say, okay, that property should be used to pay the debt. But let's say someone has a skill. Say, he's I don't know.
Assassin.
That's all you can think of is an assassin.
Number one.
Yes, he has a skill. He can do something. I don't know. He's a what is it? This acrobat or something. He has some skill he could do in the circus. So do we tell him that because you have a debt, you're required to go to work and to make up that money and do this? Can we actually like put a lien on him and say that you have to do that creative act, whatever creative ways you had to get the money? We don't have a lien on things that are creative. You have things only on property that exists. So the way the Gemara puts it is, if it's an amili, it's just it's this vague thing that it's a tayva sana, it's a gamble, it's gambling money. And we can't say that such a thing is going to have a lien on it, that now that tayva sana now belongs to the person, to the victim of damage. Mar says, Alam aloi. Why not? Mili dim is damni bedinri neno. It's something that could be sold for money. So why can't we say we can put a price on it? So why can't we say that it's as a shibud?
The husband sell the fruit of its.
Yeah, that's for sure he can. Yeah, because how does he do that? Let's say it's an apartment, right? So he gets the rent or whatever, or that's the fruit of and the usage of it. He can sublease or whatever, he can do that. He can, if it's the trees, he can take the fruits and sell them. That's the idea that but to sell the goof of it, that's problematic, right? To sell the goof, that's the, okay. Ella mishum de Shmuel, we're saying, why can't you sell the teva sana of the ksuba in order for her to pay the debt? We're going back to, she has a debt because she caused damage, but we said, why is she exempt? Because she doesn't have money. So 1 second, she has money, she could sell the gamble of her ksuba. Ella mishum de Shmuel. Shmuel says, if someone sells a promissory note to his friend, very interesting statement from Shmuel. We had this in other places, that if Ruvain owes Shimon money, so Shimon is the creditor. Shimon says to Levi, he says, Ruvain owes me money, let me sell you this document, and you'll be able to collect from Ruvain. Okay, this we know about this stuff. People would sell these types of things. Okay. Then Shimon, who was the original creditor, goes to Ruvain and says, actually, you know what? I'm going to forgive the debt, and we'll have Levi lose out. According to Shmuel, that's effective, because there's two parts to the debt. There's the rights to collect, but then there's this shibud that's deeper than that. That's the person's own obligation that he was never able to sell. That original shibud that he has, from himself, that is indebtedness that he has, he still retains something like that. And that's why even though he sold the rights to collect the debt, but the debt he still has, and he's able to forgive it. Okay, now if that's the case, Amri, okay, so what we would say like this is that if a woman would sell the tayva sana to someone else, be able to pay the victim that she damaged, so she gets money, she pays the victim, we have a concern that she's going to go to her husband and say, I'm moichel the ksuba, and I know I sold the tayva sana to the ksuba, but let's just get rid of that guy, and I'll be moichel it to you. Now the guy that bought the ksuba loses out. Amri, the Gemara says like this: why are we saying that she doesn't have to pay because maybe she's going to do this? Let's let her do this. Let's let her sell the ksuba, and if she does this, then she does this. Why are you making it that we're not going to make her pay just because this might happen? We say no. It's more than just a thought that maybe she's going to do this. She's definitely going to do this. The husband is going to say, look, you have nothing to gain by keeping the ksuba. You're not getting it anyway. So why don't you just be meichelet to me, and then we'll get rid of that guy. Will you care about him more than me? And that's it. So for sure she's going to be meichelet. So to cause a damage just to this guy for nothing, just to cause to get someone like that we don't want to do.
You're
So
never allowed.
No,
You're
Yeah.
not even allowed to
sir.
go in the store and start asking about things you have no intent in buying.
right,
So this is even worse.
right, right.
But you can't go to a store.
But the Gemara is assuming that all of this is going to happen.
You have no
The
intent in
chitema.
buying.
Gemara has another suggestion. The chitema zvina na'alei lahu dechavla be'b'tevesana. You have a solution. What makes you think that you're making a third party lose out? Maybe you could sell the ksuba directly to the person that she owes the money to because that she damaged that person. And now we'll say like this. Very interesting. De'i machla lagabe baal, because even if she does forgive it, the debt, the ksuba, to the husband, she says, okay, let's get rid of that guy. And I'll forgive the ksuba. So then, like Hamafsid, the guy doesn't lose out. Because she wasn't paying anyway. So there's only a possibility to win. We know that this is going to happen, and just to cause the Bezdin to have to go through this to assess what the ksuba is going to be worth, and then to make the sale, and all of this for nothing, it's court fees are not worth it, because we know for sure it's not going to pan out. Ella Haditanya, but was taught in a brisa. If she damages her husband, right, some bruise, some damage to her husband, she doesn't lose the ksuba. She doesn't lose the ksuba when she damages her husband. In other words, the husband doesn't start taking payments. Amai sounds a little odd. What she would do is she would sell the ksuba to her husband, which means that if she gets divorced, then he pays the money directly to himself.
Yeah.
And if he dies first, then if he dies first. So 1 second. Now the Gemara says. So we're saying, according to this, why don't we say that she could sell the ksuba directly to us? But the Gemara says, Havadei Reb Meir. This is for sure Reb Meir. One second. Over here, what would he do? He would divorce her and then just take the ksuba. And what's the ksuba? The ksuba is the payment for the damages. The Gemara says, 1 second. If that's the case, then we said before in the Mishnah that the contact with a woman or a slave is all negative because it's going to come out that she's not going to need to pay for the damages. But when she gets divorced, she does have to pay. So the Gemara says, Ihachi, if that's the case, that we're worried that he's going to divorce her, and to take the ksuba, because the ksuba was just sold to him, right? And if he divorces her, he gets that. So, 1 second, he can divorce her anyway and take the payment of the damages because she damaged him. And remember, after she's divorced, then the debt resurfaces. She has to pay it. Gemara says, we're talking about a case where the damage was small. The ksuba is a lot. Because of that little amount, of the damages, he doesn't want to have the big debt of the ksuba. The ksuba is much more than the damages. So I think where we're holding. Okay, so Eden afisha ksubasa miksuba dairaisa. If there's two parts to the ksuba, there's the ksuba dairaisa. That means the original 200 zuz. That's a ksuba. Plus, she has other properties and other things he's going to have to pay. Then nukma ksuba deraisa v'idach tizbana nale bechavle. Then let her just sell the extra part of the ksuba, and she'll keep the original ksuba, satisfy Reb Meir, and also satisfy the debt. Just going to learn if we're talking about someone that doesn't have any extra money. There is no extra ksuba. The Gemara seems to take it like everyone accepts Reb Meir's. The Havi Chavle Arba Zuze, the Mishum Arba Zuze Lemafsid Esrim V'Chamisha. Okay, Esrim V'Chamisha is the 25. 25. Yeah, but what is the coin? Is 25 Stella? Stella. 25 Stella. 25 Stella. Every Stella is 4 zuz, so that's going to be 100 zuz, which is the basic suba for a non-virgin. So Esrim Chamisha. It's 100 zuz. So because of 4 zuz, he's not going to get rid of. He's not going to want to pay the 400. Okay. Allah Tanya, but this that was taught in a brayse, kshem shloi timkar v'tachtav kachlei tafsid v'tachtav. Kozimne mishkach la demafsida. Bechi damikein nefishik subasim mitzubederaisa. Okay, we think what the Gemara means over here is that we have a brayse that's saying that just like she doesn't sell the ksuba while she's married, also she should not have to pay any part of the damages while she's married. That's what we think that this means. The Gemara says, 1 second.
Then it'll be easy for her to beat up her husband.
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, Chaim's making a new takana. He says if she never has to pay for damages, maybe she's going to beat up her husband. And they say get 4 reasons why Avraham Avinu is a Sephardi. You know them? Well, first of all, he came from Haran or whatever, or Aram Narayan. Okay, that's the Sephardic place. Second of all, his brother's name was Haran. Nachar. His brother was Nachar, and his grandfather was Nachar. So and they were still alive. So obviously, it's a Sephardi named after the grandfather. Also, when they came on Pesach, it was he served them mustard. They served them mustard. Ashkenazim don't eat mustard on Pesach. And also, it says that Avram, Hashem tells Avram, everything that Sarah tells you, you should listen to her. Listen to Sarah. If it was an Ashkenazi, then it was obvious that they listened to the wife. Must have been. Must be that it was Avram was a chiddush. Okay. Anyway, so
the Ramah writes that she could sell the suba and like it doesn't deter from the Ramah writes that the wife could sell the whole suba to her husband, to forgive it, and that doesn't deter him from divorcing her. He holds the opposite.
He's quoting to me the Ramah that Hillel saying that the Ramah writes that a woman can sell the ksuba to her husband. The basic ksuba or the additional ksuba? We're saying here that the basic ksuba she can't sell.
No.
In a case where a woman injured her husband, this thing over here, if she had an additional sum of her marriage contract beyond the main sum, she is required to sell. She may not sell it to her husband. Oh, if the husband divorces her, he collects compensation from a marriage contract. The Ramah writes that if the value of her marriage contract was equal to the amount of the compensation she owed him for the injury, she may sell the marriage contract to him. Since he can divorce her at any point and collect the entire value of the marriage contract, selling the marriage contract will not remove an impediment to his divorcing her. Oh, yeah, because if the value, that's a specific case. If the value of the damages is the same price as her ksuba, so then he could divorce her and he'll get the money anyway. So she could also just sell the ksuba and stay married.
Or if it's more, sell the ksuba and whatever's left
Because
over.
that's because the actually anyways it's the same thing. That's the Ramah is saying. If she, you see, this would be a trivia question. When would we not accept? When would we say that a woman is allowed to be with her husband without a ksuba? That if when they get divorced, she's going to owe her husband the value of the ksuba, then while they're married, he can also say that's the catch. Because there's no benefit to that ksuba. He could divorce her. It's easier. It's easier for them to stay married by selling the ksuba than to.
But what if he doesn't divorce
Then they'll stay married, even though she sold the ksuba to him. Normally, if she sells the ksuba to him, then he's just going to divorce her and say, haha, I'm keeping the ksuba. But now he can keep her because if he divorces her, he gets that money anyway. Because she damaged him and she owes him that money. Okay, that's the Ramah that the Hill was pointing out. Very interesting.
They could stay together.
It's a little
without
catch.
ksuba.
Yeah. Trivia question. Okay.
You still work on tradition.
So 1 second. So the idea over here is it looks like that she never has to sell anything in order to pay for damages. 1 second, that's not true. Zimnin mishkachla de mafsada. There is sometimes when we do sell part of the ksuba. What's the case? We said that if she has any additional properties more than the basic ksuba, then that should be sold to pay for those damages. Rava says different, but that's really talking about something else. You have to read it like this. Ksuba different was a certain type of stipulation in the ksuba that if it's relevant if there are 2 wives and there's a father to this one wife that wants to give a dowry to his daughter and his son-in-law, but he doesn't want it if they get divorced. He doesn't want this big dowry to end up in the hands of other families because there's a second wife over there. So what he would do is he would say that I'm giving a nice dowry, but if anything happens, I want my daughter's children to inherit all of these items and not split this together with the rest of the inheritance. So there's like a stipulation in the ksuba. Binyan different for the male sons are going to inherit this dowry. Those items of the dowry could be like special menorah from the Baal Shem Tov I'm giving to my son-in-law, whatever. But I don't want it ending up in the second wife's or whatever. So, I want it to end. There's such a concept. So. Tanya is being taught like this. Just like if a woman sells her ksuba, which means a tevasana, but if there was a dowry there that's supposed to go to the male, that part of that ksuba, those male sons still get those properties, those specific properties that were added into the dowry. She didn't sell that. She only sold the other parts of the ksuba. My time is Uzi and Dansua. She was only concerned that she needed money, and that's why she did this. It wasn't that she was trying to get rid of her son. No, I think there's different parts to the ksuba. The part of the ksuba that's the binyan dichrin, the part that her father had given her to bring into the marriage, those nechasim, that part should get inherited. I don't think so. I think it's. Let's see what they say in the notes because that's the way I'm understanding this. So, kach mecheres ksubas labayla layafsida ksubas binyan dichrin. Also, if she would sell the ksuba to her husband herself, but the sons would still inherit it. My time azuzi then, so it's only because of money that she sold it, but not because she's trying to get rid of the property from her sons. Now the Gemara suggests, let's say that if we look at a certain certain sources, it may come out that this concept of a woman selling property and the husband taking it back after she dies, that's really that's a takana susha. That's really an earlier machlekes. It's a machlekes tanoim. This is where Chaim asked, is takana susha machlekes? So the Gemara is suggesting over here, maybe it's machlekes. One brisa says that a non-Jewish slave that the woman brings into the marriage, you know the rule with a non-Jewish slave, that if the master knocks out its eye or tooth, so the slave goes free, but it needs to be the master. So avdei malug, the woman brings it into the marriage. If the woman knocks out the eye, the wife knocks out the eye, she's the owner. So the slave goes free. But if the husband knocks out, he's not the owner. He doesn't go free. Tanya Yidach, I have another brisa that says, it doesn't go to any. The slave doesn't go free for either of them. Savrua, the Gemara understands like this. The kuli alma kinyan peiris lavka kinyan aguftami. I would make an assumption, if I was the easy assumption, which the Gemara is going to say later, is that this is just a machlekes if kinyan peiris or kinyan aguf, if the usufruct is considered an ownership as well. So if yes, then the woman doesn't really own it 100%. The husband doesn't really own it 100%. They both. But if you say that the usufruct is nothing, so then we say the woman owns it. That's what I would have explained. But the Gemara says no. Everyone holds that the usufruct is nothing. Okay. So then why is there one that say that the woman is not considered the owner? My love, the machlekes must be the following. The one that says that the woman is the owner, because let's say takanazusha, because if she could sell the slave is sold. That means she's the owner. She has the rights to sell it. What's ownership? You could sell it. According to this, she could sell it. The husband can't do anything. That means she's the owner. Mandar malaylish v'leilish, the one that says that not the woman and not the husband is the owner. It's like the kanazusha, because they hold that if she sells it, the husband takes it back. So there is no real owner here. The husband can't sell it. She can't sell it. Umar says like, no, that's not. You just develop that there's a machlekes. If there's a takanasusha, not necessarily. The kuli almis takanasusha, everyone holds that there is a takanasusha, that if the white woman sells it, the husband can take it back. It depends when. We're talking about the takanas usha was instituted in usha. One of these brises was taught before usha. One of them was taught after usha. Usha means that the Sanhedrin traveled to usha, and over there they made this institution. Be by the same if you want, you could say everyone holds this after the takana. This they takana susha, and they hold it at takana. Mandamali isha v'leileish, my time kidarava. The one that says the woman but not the man, it's because they're accepting the ruling of Rava. Of Rava, the Rava says hektish chametz b'shicher machkin midei shibud. If there is a lien on certain properties, and the person, the owner of it, why is there a lien? Because he owes money to someone. Could be a non-Jew or a Jew. If the person takes the property that there's a lien on and he's mocked the shit, so the lien falls off. Or let's say he owes money to a non-Jew, and there's a lien on his chametz, but then it becomes Pesach, and the chametz was not in the non-Jew's house; it's in his own house. So the lien falls off from the chametz because it becomes asur ba'ana, because it can't have benefit. The lien goes off there. And also shichur is if someone owns a slave and he puts a lien on the slave because he owes money to someone, so he puts a lien on the slave and then he frees the slave, so the lien goes off, he goes free, the slave goes free. So what we're saying over here is that what's the reason why the woman is able to is considered the owner, even though this is a takana shus, if she sells it, the husband takes it back. But nevertheless, if there would be a lien on it, she could set the slave free, and that would take away the lien. So yeah, the husband sort of has a lien on it. He's like the first, he has the first lien on it, right? But nevertheless, she could set the slave free, even that's stronger than the lien. That's why she's considered the owner. Let's say that this concept about Rava of getting out of a lien by making use of that ownership is actually a machlekes tanoim, because we have two brises. The Gemara says like the kuli al mislu de Rava, everyone holds of Rava. But over here, one of the brises holds that even though there's a lien and the wife is able to release the slave, even though the husband should really be able to take it back if it was sold. But nevertheless, the wife is considered owner because she can release it. The other brisa holds that they strengthen the power of the husband here to make him considered also the owner. And that's why That's why neither of them are considered the owner. Okay. Or else you can say the Kuliyam Leslu Lahani Tanoi. Leslu Lahani Tanoi Takana Susha. No one holds up Takana Susha. Maybe over here the machlaikas is, do we say that the use of property is considered ownership, which is the way I thought originally when you read that. Tani was taught in the Brayso Mecher Abdelacher. Someone sells his slave to someone else. But he makes up that I still need him for another 30 days. He's yours, but I still need him for another 30 days. Well, then there's a rule that if someone kills his slave, he gets a death penalty. But that's only if the slave dies within 1 or 2 days. That's what the pasuk says. Within 24 hours. Within 1 or 2 days, if the slave dies. But probably because a person is allowed to hit his slave. Slave is like his child, discipline or whatever he's allowed to hit his. So if it's his own slave that he hit, and the slave doesn't die within 24 hours, then he's exempt from the death penalty. Only if the slave dies within 24 hours. Now, the Rambam writes that this is only if he doesn't use like a knife or something. But we're talking about that he hit, because hitting with a stick, the slave doesn't die. Whatever the case is, there's a rule, it's called Yoma Yemayim, that only applies to the person's own slave. It's an exemption of the death penalty if the slave survives the first 2 days after the beating. So now we have two owners to this slave. We have the guy that sold it, but still has it for 30 days, and you have the new purchaser. Original owner is considered the owner, because he's using him. He says that the one that uses it is the owner. Rabbi Yehuda says, the second one is the owner because he has because he owns it. Obviously, he holds that the usage of it is not the ownership. Rabbi Yossi has even a better solution. He says they're both owners. This one because he owns it, and then this one because he's using it. Because Rabbi Yossi really has a doubt. Do we say that the usage of it is the ownership or not? And if you have a doubt, then we would say Safek Navash Lakal. You're not going to kill the guy when you have the owner, when the slave survived the 2 days, right? A regular person, if he's not the owner, then he does get the death penalty. It's only the owner that doesn't get the death. But here we don't know if he's the owner, so we can't give him the death penalty. The person that's stealing a cow.
Sells a cow.
Oh, so that would come up over here. That would be the same question. Do we say kinyan peiros or kinyan aguf? It's like a machlekes Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish, and over here it's also machlekes these sages. Rabbi Lezer Aimer. Yeah, the slave is acquired. The problem is that he's still being used by the first owner for 30 days.
So the second owner acquires a slave and then he lends it.
It's as if he lends it, right? Rabbi Lezer says, both of them don't have the rule of the 1 or 2 days. He's strict. He says this one because he doesn't own it, and this one because he's not using it. My time with the Rabbi Lezer. What's the reason for Rabbi Lezer? The pasuk explains why do we have this leniency about the slave. He says because he's your money. So it sounds like you're allowed to hit him. So only if he dies within the first 2 days. Kaspe amiyuchle has to be specifically your money, not if it's in partnership. Who does it go according to the statement of a Meimer? That if a man or woman sold from Nechse Malog, they didn't do anything. Come on, who holds that? Rabbi Lezer. It's like Rabbi Lezer that it has to be totally yours in order to do anything, not partially yours. Who's the author of the following Bryce? If someone is partially freed, slave, partially freed, or belongs to two owners, he doesn't go free at all from any knocked out eyes or limbs. It's the opinion of Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer holds it has to be a slave that's actually 100% yours, not partially yours, in order for those rules to apply. Okay, let's leave it over here. Woo!
Shakaya, very good. Shakaya.
Okay.